In this video I will demonstrate how to clone a monitoring plan. This feature could be particularly interesting for companies with more than one ship and using the system to draft monitoring plans. The objective of cloning is to duplicate the content of a monitoring plan from one ship to other ships. You will see that you can clone the full plan or only specific sections. Therefore, this functionality can also be used when you need to update a specific section of the plans for all your fleet. Let's see in the system how it can be done. There are 3 possible ways to do it. The Actions button on the main list is the quicker approach. You may also edit the plan and use the Clone button on the Workflow menu. This is the preferable way because it allows you to first consult the information you want to clone. The third option is especially interesting if you would like to clone a previous version of the plan. This can be done through the Monitoring Plan Revision tab. Look for the version you want to clone, click the Actions button and select Clone. In this exercise I will use the Clone button from the Workflow menu because this will clone the current version of the monitoring plan. Remember that the last revision may not include the latest modifications. So we click Clone button. We see that we have a 3-step approach. By default, the Clone button is disabled. This button will only become enabled once we provided all the necessary information for this action. Let's see how it is done. We first indicate the content we want to clone. You may select only specific sections to clone. Sections which are not selected will not be considered, leaving the destination monitoring plan unchanged if those sections are already drafted. In our case, we want all the content, so we select all. Note that once you select CO2 emissions sources or fuel tanks, the system forces you to select the measuring equipment section as well. This is because there is a link between them which needs to be maintained for data consistency. You can also specify subcategories under sections Navigation, Cargo, and Fuel Consumption. This is particularly interesting when you are updating other monitoring plans. In our exercise, this is not relevant as we are cloning all the content. We now go to step 2. We are requested to identify the ships to receive the clone. The monitoring plan status column is particularly interesting because it allows us to see that we may be overwriting information already drafted. You will also see that an exclusion filter is available. By default, ships with monitoring plans which have been assessed or submitted to the verifier are not listed because they cannot be overwritten. So once you find the ships to which you want to clone the monitoring plan, just check the selection box in the first column. The final step is to check the confirmation checkbox acknowledging that this action will overwrite the monitoring plan of the selected ships. Once you do this, note that the Clone button becomes enabled. However, before we click, we can also request to have a version of the monitoring plan created for each targeted ships. If this is done, a monitoring plan version will be available in the Revision tab of the monitoring plan of those ships. We click Clone. This action can take some time depending on the amount of ships we have selected. Once the process is finalized, the system triggers a confirmation message. Let's go back to the list of ships and edit one of the monitoring plans which we have created in this exercise. We select the Monitoring Plan Revision tab, and we can confirm that a revision was generated following the cloning process. You can now make any specific necessary amendments to this plan which may only apply to this ship, and then submit it to the verifier for assessment.